The Los Angeles Lakers remain one of the hardest teams to project, but one thing stands out immediately. A win total of 44.5 feels surprisingly low for a roster led by Luka Doncic. History shows that when Doncic is healthy, his teams almost always stay well above the middle of the Western Conference because he controls every possession, creates easy scoring opportunities for teammates, and consistently delivers one of the league's most productive offenses. Even if the Lakers experience injuries elsewhere, Doncic alone raises their floor enough to keep them in the playoff race throughout the regular season. Adding Austin Reeves beside Doncic also gives Los Angeles one of the more creative offensive backcourts in the NBA. Reeves has continued developing into a reliable secondary playmaker who can score without dominating the ball. That combination should reduce the offensive burden on Doncic over an 82-game schedule, while making it much harder for opposing defenses to focus on one player. Both guards are capable of creating shots late in the clock, and both can stretch defenses with perimeter shooting, giving the Lakers multiple ways to generate offense even against elite defensive teams. The biggest question remains the frontcourt. Everything depends on whether Walker Kessler becomes the long-term answer in the middle. The Lakers desperately need consistent rim protection, defensive rebounding, and a center who can finish around the basket without demanding touches. If Kessler develops into that dependable interior presence, Los Angeles becomes a far more balanced team because the guards will finally have a reliable defensive anchor behind them. His ability to protect the paint could dramatically improve a defense that struggled with consistency in key stretches last season. Depth will also determine whether the Lakers exceed expectations. The Western Conference is too competitive for any team to rely only on star power. Los Angeles needs role players who can defend multiple positions, knock down open three-point shots, and survive the difficult stretches when the stars rest. Championship contenders usually separate themselves through dependable bench production, and that will likely decide whether the Lakers simply qualify for the playoffs or challenge for home court advantage. Another reason to believe the Lakers can outperform expectations is the way Doncic elevates teammates throughout the regular season. His passing creates easy baskets that many players simply do not receive from other guards. Big men benefit from his pick-and-roll play. Shooters receive cleaner looks, and transition opportunities become more frequent because of his court vision. Those advantages tend to translate directly into regular season victories, especially against teams that struggle defensively. The schedule itself could also work in Los Angeles' favor. Veteran teams often understand how to manage long seasons better than younger rosters. If the Lakers remain reasonably healthy, they should collect wins against rebuilding teams while relying on their experienced backcourt to close out tight games. That consistency often matters more than spectacular performances over the course of 6 months. The biggest concern remains defense. Doncic and Reeves are offensive weapons, but opponents will try to attack them on the other end. That places even greater importance on Kessler and the team's overall defensive structure. If the Lakers cannot consistently protect the paint or defend the perimeter, they may find themselves involved in high-scoring games every night. However, if the coaching staff builds even an average defensive unit around its offensive stars, the win total becomes much easier to surpass. Looking at the overall picture, 44.5 wins appears conservative for a team built around one of basketball's premier offensive players. Doncic has repeatedly shown he can carry teams to the grind of the regular season, and with Reeves providing another dependable scoring option, the Lakers should generate enough offense to remain near the top half of the Western Conference. The unanswered questions about center depth and defense may prevent them from becoming overwhelming championship favorites immediately, but they should still finish comfortably above the projected win total if their core players stay available throughout the season. The Western Conference looks more competitive than it has in years, and several teams made headline moves during the offseason. But when you take a closer look beyond the big names, many of those rosters still carry major question marks. Some teams improved their talent but sacrificed depth. Others added veterans without solving their biggest weaknesses. Over an 82-game season, those flaws usually become impossible to hide. That is why several playoff contenders may not finish as high in the standings as many fans expect. The Denver Nuggets still have one of the league's most dangerous offenses because Nikola Jokic remains the engine that makes everything work. Even when the roster changes around him, Denver continues to create efficient scoring opportunities through ball movement passing, and Jokic's elite decision-making. Adding Marvin Bagley gives them another reliable option in the front court and provides better depth behind Jokic than they had previously. However, questions remain about the overall defense, wing depth, and the uncertain future of several young rotation players. Those concerns could prevent Denver from dominating the conference, but their offensive consistency should still carry them comfortably into the upper half of the Western standings. Minnesota enters the season with plenty of excitement after adding LaMelo Ball, but excitement does not always translate into regular season wins. Ball brings elite passing, creativity, and another player capable of taking pressure off Anthony Edwards. Having two dynamic playmakers should make Minnesota much harder to defend, especially late in games when defenses focus heavily on Edwards. The concern comes from durability. Ball has missed significant time during multiple seasons, and the Timberwolves also sacrifice important depth to complete the trade. Over a long season, injuries and fatigue often expose thinner rosters. Minnesota may become a more dangerous playoff opponent, but their regular season record could still fall slightly below expectations because they simply do not have as much reliable depth as several conference rivals. The Los Angeles Lakers continue building around Luka Doncic, and that alone gives them one of the highest offensive ceilings in the NBA. Pairing Doncic with Austin Reeves create a backcourt capable of generating points against almost any defense. Walker Kessler could become a major difference maker if he remains healthy, because his shot blocking and ability to finish around the rim fit perfectly alongside Luka's playmaking. Even so, defense remains the biggest concern. The Lakers added useful role players, but they still lack enough elite perimeter defenders to consistently slow down the conference's best scorers. During the regular season, Luka's brilliance should produce plenty of victories, but unless the defense improves significantly, playoff success could become much more difficult. Houston remains one of the hardest teams to project. Kevin Durant still commands defensive attention, but he no longer carries an offense by himself the way he once did earlier in his career. The Rockets also lost valuable veteran leadership and interior toughness, creating new questions about consistency. Their success may ultimately depend on whether Alperen Sengun becomes a clear offensive centerpiece, while Amen Thompson continues developing into a complete two-way player. Houston possesses tremendous talent, but there are simply too many variables to confidently expect a major jump in the standings. Until those young players prove they can consistently produce under pressure, expecting a moderate finish appears more realistic than assuming another breakthrough season. Portland may quietly become one of the league's biggest surprises. Damian Lillard's return immediately changes the identity of the offense by providing leadership, shooting, and late-game experience. His presence should also create easier opportunities for Ja Morant and the rest of the young roster, because defenses will no longer be able to focus entirely on stopping one player. Still, the defensive side presents obvious challenges. A Lillard-Morant backcourt has the potential to struggle against larger guards and athletic perimeter scorers. Portland may score enough points to remain competitive most nights, but stopping elite offenses consistently remains a difficult challenge. Their overall improvement should be noticeable, even if defensive issues prevent them from climbing much higher. Golden State faces perhaps the toughest reality of any playoff hopeful. Steph Curry continues performing at an elite level whenever healthy, but age has become impossible to ignore across the roster. Jimmy Butler's injury situation, Kristaps Porzingis' durability concerns, and a lack of consistent depth make it difficult to expect sustained success over an entire season. Curry alone will win games, but championship teams require reliable contributions throughout the lineup. At this stage, Golden State appears capable of remaining competitive without looking like a legitimate title favorite. Utah may be one of the most overlooked teams entering the season. The young backcourt continues developing, and the organization finally appears ready to build around players who complement one another instead of constantly reshuffling the roster. Lauri Markkanen remains one of the league's most versatile scoring forwards, while additional frontcourt help provides better balance throughout the rotation. The Jazz still need stronger rim protection and more consistent defense, but their offense has enough weapons to surprise opponents throughout the regular season. If their young players continue progressing, Utah could easily outperform many preseason predictions. Phoenix continues searching for the right formula, but questions continue surrounding roster construction. Devin Booker remains one of the league's best scorers, Yet the supporting cast still lacks a defensive identity needed to compete against the conference's strongest teams. Several offseason additions improve shooting, but they do not fully address concerns about interior defense, rebounding, or overall toughness. The Suns will compete every night because of their offensive talent, but their overall ceiling appears limited unless dramatic improvement arrives from younger players. The Eastern Conference looks far stronger than many expected, but one team still enters the season carrying the biggest target on its back. The New York Knicks are the defending NBA champions, and odds makers believe they will finish around 52 wins again. That projection feels realistic because championship teams rarely improve their regular season record the following year. Every opponent treats games against the defending champions like playoff contests, and the physical and mental toll a long title run usually shows over an 82-game schedule. Even so, New York still is one of the league's deepest rosters. Jalen Brunson continues to control games with his leadership. Karl-Anthony Towns gives them offensive versatility, and the addition of Andre Drummond provides dependable size after Mitchell Robinson's departure. The Knicks may manage minutes carefully to stay healthy, but their balance and continuity should still keep them near the top of the conference. Detroit enters the season with enormous expectations after last year's breakout, but repeating a 60-win campaign will be much harder. The Pistons added perimeter shooting to create more space for Cade Cunningham, yet those changes also weaken parts of their defensive identity. When Isaiah Joe and Kevin Huerter share the floor, Detroit gains scoring but sacrifices toughness. When Ausar Thompson returns, the defense improves immediately, but the spacing shrinks again. That constant trade-off may prevent the Pistons from finding their ideal lineup. The unresolved contract situation surrounding Jalen Duren also creates uncertainty. Detroit should remain one of the hardest playing teams in basketball, and that effort alone will win plenty of games. But matching last season's dominance appears unlikely. Cleveland remains one of the safest regular season teams in the NBA because its roster is built to survive the grind of a long season. James Harden gives the Cavaliers another elite playmaker who can keep the offense organized whenever Donovan Mitchell rests or misses games. Mitchell can carry the scoring load, while Harden controls tempo and creates opportunities for everyone else. Inside, Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen continue giving Cleveland one of the strongest defensive front courts in basketball. Those strengths make the Cavaliers extremely reliable from October through April. Questions about playoff success still exist, but over the course of a full season, their depth and flexibility should allow them to comfortably exceed expectations. Boston remained competitive despite major roster changes, but the outlook has shifted. Replacing Jaylen Brown with Paul George gives the Celtics another experienced veteran, yet also makes the team older and increases concerns about durability. Jason Tatum now becomes the unquestioned centerpiece, and Boston will rely heavily on him every night. Joe Mazzulla has consistently found ways to maximize regular season success regardless of roster adjustments, so another strong finish remains possible. However, everything depends on Paul George staying healthy, something that has become increasingly difficult in recent years. Boston should remain a playoff team, but they no longer appear to be the dominant force they were during previous seasons. Miami could become one of the league's biggest surprises. Even without any blockbuster additions, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bam Adebayo give the Heat an elite defensive foundation that very few teams can match. Eric Spoelstra has already made it clear that building one of the NBA's best defenses is the organization's top priority. Veteran role players like Andrew Wiggins, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Davion Mitchell bring valuable experience and versatility. At the same time, rumors surrounding a possible LeBron James reunion continue to circulate. If that move somehow happens, Miami's ceiling changes immediately, transforming the Heat from a solid playoff team into a legitimate championship threat. As things stand today, Miami still looks capable of challenging any contender because of its discipline, coaching, and defensive identity. Toronto may not receive the same national attention as other Eastern Conference teams, but expectations should remain realistic. The Raptors have enough young talent to compete on most nights, yet they still appear one step behind the conference's top contenders. Development remains the organization's biggest priority, and while flashes of improvement should continue throughout the season, reaching the upper tier of the East may still be another year away. Their competitiveness should never be questioned, but consistency over a full season remains their biggest challenge. Looking across the conference, The gap between teams has narrowed considerably. New York remains a team everyone wants to beat. Detroit continues building around Cade Cunningham. Cleveland's depth makes them dangerous every night. Boston searches for a new identity. Miami quietly positions itself as a sleeper contender, and Toronto keeps investing in its young core. The Eastern Conference no longer belongs to one clear favorite.